Welcome, everyone. I am very excited to have you all tonight. Tonight, we will be speaking with people that make up the agricultural community here in North Carolina. This is hosted by your 2022 North Carolina Miss Agriculture Advocacy Ambassador. This video will be recorded and uploaded to social media afterwards. We have a series of questions that panelists will go through, and then will be uploaded to social media. Panelists will answer one at a time, and then we will open up to Q&A at the end of the panel. I just ask that you all mute your mics until the end of when we open up for Q&A, and when asking your questions to the panel, please refrain from politics, foul language, or controversial subjects. Hey, Ashley.
Hey.
Looks like you figured it out.
I broke in. I'm not sure, like my laptop just wouldn't never do it, but I was like, well, I'll try the phone.
Alrighty, so we'll take another picture at the end.
Okay.
So we'll start with the introduction. In the introduction, you need to say your name, where you're from, and your title or background, or what company you're with. And the panelists don't have to mute themselves, just the participants. So Caitlyn, we'll start with you.
Hey, I'm Caitlyn Randall. I'm from Pickle. I work with the North Carolina Department of Agriculture in the marketing section, and I'm a communication specialist.
Lynn.
My name is Lynn Willams. I work for Mount Olive Pickle Company. I'm the public relations manager and assistant corporate secretary. And I'm here in Mount Olive.
Ashley.
I'm Ashley Herring. I work with North Carolina Cattlemen's Association and the Beef Council. Our office is in Fuquay, Varina, and I'm actually from a little town called Kinston, North Carolina, and I do their consumer information there for the Cattlemen's Association and Beef Council.
So Ashley, we'll start with you for the next question. What does agriculture mean to you?
Oh gosh, that's such a good opener there. Well, it's, certainly it's something that I'm familiar with from a very young age. I was raised on a beef cattle farm, and I chose to pursue agriculture in my college career. And now I work in agriculture, and, I feel like the most rewarding part of it is knowing that I work for farmers and how hardworking they are and how dedicated and committed they are. So it's such a joy and a rewarding experience to know that I'm working for farmers.
Caitlyn.
What was the question again?
What does agriculture mean to you?
Well, I definitely enjoy eating 3 times a day at least, sometimes 4, maybe even 5. So agriculture is important to me because it nourishes my body and it nourishes my family, and who's important to me and the entire population. And I feel like it's a calling for so many people, and it's a passion point. And farming is also taking care of the earth as well. So that is why it's important to me.
Krista.
You forgot to ask for my introduction. So I'm Krista Huss. It's okay. I'm Krista Huss. I'm from Huss Family Farms, and I am in Lincolnton, North Carolina. So agriculture to me as a farmer, it's a lifestyle. I live on a farm, and I was not born into agriculture. I am a first-generation farmer married to a fifth-generation farmer. So one of my favorite things about agriculture is we feed the world. We feed them food, and we also have the opportunity to feed them education on our industry. We have a chance to show the next generation how to take care of our earth, how to grow food. And it's just, we feed the world food and education.
Lynn.
I guess unlike Krista, I didn't grow up in agriculture. I remember spending time on my grandparents' huge garden, and we spent the summers picking corn and sucking corn and peas and butter beans and all, and putting it up in the freezer and that kind of thing. But that's about as close to agriculture as I came. But But, you know, here at Mantle Pickle Company, you know, I'm at it, I look at it from the processor perspective. You know, we're the best selling brand of pickles in the country. You know, I mean, you just have to appreciate how much we all depend on agriculture to support everything we do. You know, we're buying raw produce and we're adding value to it, and you know, we depend on those growers to produce a product that keeps 1,200 people here employed. And so it's, you know, it's pretty, it's all really interconnected. You know, agriculture literally touches every facet of our lives. And so it's, you know, we all need to be really serious and supportive of agriculture. Yeah.
Krista, since I forgot you the first time, well, you'll go first for this one.
Okay.
What is the biggest challenge in the industry at the moment?
For me as a farmer, I would say input costs. Our fertilizer prices have more than doubled. You heard that right. Seed prices are going up. You know, I grow mums, so my soil prices have gone up. Just inputs right now is our biggest struggle. It costs more to put a crop in the ground for us now, a lot more.
Ashley?
I was debating back and forth between two, and there's probably one that everybody's expecting, and that might be processing, the rate of processing beef. But I feel like that's eventually going to work out. I will say above that, our challenge is educating consumers so that they're familiar with how beef is produced, how their food is produced. And, you know, part of the reason for that challenge is because of misinformation that's, you know, put out into the digital world. And, you know, luckily we have so many good farmers like Krista and other ones that I follow that are helping to correct the misinformation and doing it in such a fun way that it's like a joy to watch. So that's something I'm really excited about that has changed in the recent past few years. But of course, you know, there's a growing spread between, you know, folks who were raised on a farm or even grew their own food in the garden. You know, that's less and less common these days. So educating consumers is still my number one challenge, I'll say.
And I'll say people like Krista that make it fun and entertaining on platforms like Instagram and TikTok make things even more enjoyable for the general public and make them want to learn more about our agricultural industry. Caitlyn?
So in my job, I kind of have a blanket over the entire agriculture industry. So I think overall, attitudes and thought processes and like a shift in thought process, whether it be veganism or processed meats or environmental concerns or your activists and that kind of thing who may have misinformation. And those always seem to be the loudest people. So just kind of battling that and shifts in attitudes and that kind of thing. The inflation is definitely an issue right now, and losing farmland to retail spaces and home development is an issue right now too.
Lynn?
Well, I kind of echo Krista, because it's the input cost for manufacturers is, yeah, we've seen some pretty significant increases in everything from glass to caps to vinegar. You know, it's just all the input costs that go into it. And of course, you know, we, and the impact that's having on growers is certainly part of our bottom line too, because their prices are, we're having to pay them more to cover their input costs. So that is pretty big, and I think that's really big for everybody. I think for a while, but I do think probably more broadly, I think we've got to figure out how to feed a planet of 8 billion people, and we got to figure out how to do it with fewer farms, fewer farmland, fewer farmers, and who battle tremendous challenges and attitudes and all the things we've talked about tonight. But they just have a lot of pressures, and I think the pandemic has kind of helped illustrate the weak points in our supply chains. Everybody was so tight. Everybody wants exactly what they want when they want it, and all of a sudden, you just can't get what you want when you want it anymore. And I think now we have an opportunity to look and see how we can manage our systems better, so that maybe we can be a little more forgiving and when we get these blips and disruptions.
Yeah, I know. Along the same lines of that, I went to a strawberry festival and toured it in Johnston County, and somebody showed up and thought they could get fresh strawberries then, and it's not in season, but they think since you can get it in the grocery store, why can't you get it at the local farm? And that's just not how it works. And I can't speak, but the miscommon things that people think in the general public is just like there's a miscommunication type.
The food comes from the grocery store, right?
Right. Yeah, it's like they don't understand the true meaning of where their food actually comes from.
Yeah, they don't have any idea of what it takes to get it to their table.
And without getting more young people involved in agriculture, we won't continue to not have shortages. So let's start with Ashley. What got you into the industry and why do you stay?
Well, my parents were very involved in the cattle industry when I was growing up. And so we had a small herd of 20 mama cows. And so I grew up showing cattle and just always being around them and kind of getting to absorb that experience and of animal husbandry and the day-to-day care and how much commitment is involved with that. I mentioned I chose to study that in college, but not initially. I chose a different major and then I switched into agriculture just because it was more or less the people. So the people that are involved in our industry and involved in agriculture in general are just second to none. So I feel like the people are why I choose to stay in it. Even now, I love all of our the members of our executive committee that steer our association and all of our producers. So certainly the people is why I would say I stay.
Krista?
Well, I married into farming and I stayed because I love my husband. Kidding. No, when we first got married, actually, I hated farming, believe it or not. I called farming my rival because he spent more time with farming than me. And over the years, I have just had to show up at the field to see him. And I just slowly, I guess, my eyes were open, God intervened, I don't know, but I fell in love with it, and I've kind of found my own role in the farm. And I think just how do I word it? The feeling you get of planting a teeny tiny seed now, and then in October, the success of harvesting cotton and seeing just the success and just the emotions, harvest is like our Super Bowl, I guess. Just the way being a farmer makes you feel, just the pride and knowing what you're doing for the world to help benefit the world.
And knowing that you're going to have food on the table.
Yeah, that helps too.
Lynn?
Well, I grew up in Mount Olive. I grew up here and swore when I left to go off to college, I was never coming back to this dull, boring place. Right. but of course I came back and raised my children here, and my husband's from here, and it's just been great. So when I needed to make a job change after we moved home, the logical place to go look was Mount Island Pickle. I mean, it's where you want to be. It's a great company. And so I came to say, you know, do you need somebody with communication skills? And thankfully they did. So and I've been here 23 years. And I stay here because it's a great company. It's a great, we got our start because back in the 1920s, because local business leaders decided to create a new market for farmers. And the reason to do that, you do a pickle company and then farmers would have a place to sell their cucumbers. And that's how we got our start. And so part of my job here over the years has been to really be a part of the community engagement and the relationships over time that is really a hallmark of the company. And so that's been a lot of fun. And it is agriculture and agribusiness is just full of great people. I have so enjoyed being a part of the company, but a part of a lot of the constituencies around the company and ag folks and ag groups. And so, yeah, it's been good. It's been
I
great.
will say getting to come to y'all's events this year is something I'll never take for granted. I'm very blessed to have met all of y'all and have the connection with you and all these other panelists, but I have enjoyed attending your events. So
Awesome.
thank y'all.
Thank you. Yep.
Caitlyn.
So I ran a farmer's market when I was in college, and that's where I fell in love with educating people on agriculture and putting on events, which I do a lot in my job now. So that was kind of the beginning for me. And then I also married into farming. And so I got a little bit of a closer look into that, more of an inside view versus, someone who wasn't raised in agriculture. And I stay for those breakthrough moments when people come up and say to me, oh, I found this local market, or, oh, I only go to local restaurants now, or, I've shifted from shopping for produce at the grocery store to shopping at the farmer's market, or whatever the case may be. Or if they're looking at their labels and making sure what they're buying is from North Carolina, I stay for those little breakthrough moments with people.
So I have a bounce off question. What's your favorite Got to Be NC event?
And
anybody can answer this.
What was that?
Anybody can answer this question.
Mine is the seafood festival, just because I love the beach and love seafood.
Well, mine would have to be the Got to Be NC festival, because it focuses on North Carolina agriculture and what more so than the fair does. So does anybody else have an answer to that question?
I don't go to any of those events because I'm on like the opposite side of the state.
Yeah.
I don't leave the farm much. And I feel like some of the events have been during our like busy times. Like I don't leave the farm this time of year because we're planting.
Right. Ashley, since you've been to events, even with the Cattlemen's Association, do you have a favorite?
Oh gosh. I mean, I enjoy the fair, of course. It's a very long 10 days, I will say. So that might be my favorite, I think. Or is it just events in general, or they need to be like
any agriculture related event, I guess.
Okay. So it would definitely be farm animal days.
Okay. Yeah, that was a cool event. I appreciate you inviting me to come out to that. I enjoyed eating the Howling Cow ice cream.
I think that's everybody's favorite. But it's so nice that so many people can come there it's at the beef unit on Lake Wheeler Road, hosted by NC State University, and it's just a really good opportunity. You see a lot of those light bulb moments with with parents and grandparents as well as the kids, when they see animals or they see a farm and they're kind of really taking it in firsthand. It's like, oh, this is what we've read about, or this is what we see on TV. And now we're, getting to experience a little slice of it.
Lynn, do you have a favorite? It'd probably be one of your pickle events, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I've always enjoyed the state fair, I will say. And that's just always fun. I've always enjoyed that. And of course, Pickle Festival, although that's a whole lot like work. It's, we got to put that on. We had a great event just a few weeks ago. So, yeah.
But that was a lot of people.
More people than we've ever had in Mount Olive before. We don't know how many people were here, but we know it was more than we've ever had. So.
Ooh, that was something for a few hours. People on top of each other. Well, it was great for y'all though. And I really enjoyed eating in the pickle eating contest. That was an experience.
That was fun. Yeah,
yes.
It was a lot of fun.
So what are the common misconceptions people have? How do we combat these misconceptions and communicate more effectively? Lynn?
I kind of see two different camps. One is that folks think that agriculture is just this quaint little industry and the cute little farmers and their suspenders and antique tractors. They just don't have a clue about what huge role agriculture plays. So that's one camp. And then the other camp are, I think, the folks who believe that agriculture is going to big ag and these big corporate farms. And the reality is the vast majority of farms are still family owned farms. And so I think that, and of course, the reality is somewhere in the middle, of those wide misconceptions about agriculture. And I do think that the work that Caitlyn and Krista and the social media work and that we can all be our own advocates now, I think, in a lot of ways, and that social media gives us those opportunities that we really didn't have before. I think
I personally think that's very important.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I was saying earlier, Krista is a huge influencer on social media, and just folks like that are really building the agricultural industry one step at a time. When I was at the Got to Be NC Festival this weekend and was on the tractor in the tractor parade thing, some guy yelled out, I knew you from TikTok. I follow you on TikTok. And I'm like, oh, really? It's just powerful how social media really impacts people's lives now. And like you were saying, it's something we didn't have before.
Yeah.
Krista?
So I got to make a comment about something that Lynn said. I went into a local school this past fall and spoke to a classroom about cotton. So when I walked in, a girl looked at her teacher and said, Miss blah, 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 she's not a farmer. She doesn't look like a farmer. And I could have cried. I had on like leggings, booties, and like a long shirt. And in her mind, I'm not a farmer because I was clean, had nice clothes on, didn't have on overalls. And that just like floored me, like, wow, what a misconception these kids have. Also, I brought in some cotton and was showing them. And one of the kids picked up the cotton, looked at it, and popped it in his mouth. He thought that because it grew in a field, that meant that it was food. He didn't realize that cotton was grown in a field. So just the next generation, we've just got to educate them. But I will say, from a farmer standpoint, we have been attacked the last few years about they think GMOs are horrible for you, and pesticides is a big thing. The term that we drench our crops in chemicals kills me. They assume when they see our sprayers that everything coming out is pure chemical, when in reality, we put less than we put less than 12 ounces of pesticide per acre, the size of a football field. So less than a soda can goes on an area the size of a football field. And, that's just back to educating people. Like, some of you may not have known that, what I just told you. That's how much pesticide in reality we use. So I think just getting the truth out, sharing our story, proving to people that we're not the, and this is going to sound horrible, but the monsters they think we are, because in lots of eyes, we are destroying the environment when in reality, we're helping it. Our main crop, cotton, is a carbon neutral crop, meaning that it absorbs more carbon monoxide out of the environment than it puts out. You know, people just, they don't know that. They don't realize that unless they're taught. So I guess
Yeah.
just,
Education is key,
yes.
and they're taking that out of our schools, and that's a whole nother rodeo. Ashley.
I will kind of stick to what I focus a lot on at work, and that's just marketing terminology and labels. A lot of times people will confuse grass-fed with local or healthy or organic with any of those other terms. And, you know, so often it's, you know, well, local beef can be grass-fed and then finished with grain. There, you know, there's just so much kind of misunderstood there between those labels and claims. And as far as, you know, I can certainly see why it's confusing for consumers, but we use infographics, we use Instagram reels, we use, you know, videos and farmers sharing their stories and things like that to try to help, you know, explain those things. We also work with nutrition dietitians and influencers in the health field, because those folks are, you know, kind of the first in line when the doctor, you know, prescribes a certain diet for a patient and they go see a dietitian. And you know, we really want to help the dietitians understand production and be able to explain to their client, you know, well, grass-fed does, you know, means this and this. You know, what we try to help folks understand is that if they prefer organic, if they prefer grass-fed or grain-fed, it's certainly it's individual preference. The health information, the nutrition data is all the same. So it's really just kind of like what variety of chocolate do you like? White chocolate, dark chocolate, or milk chocolate? We're certainly just happy when people choose beef. So
Something I forgot to mention earlier was like y'all's education boards and stuff that you bring to events. I find that very important to educate the public, and I feel like more organizations could add to that aspect to educate people about different factors of agriculture. So that's a really good teaching tool that y'all provide. Caitlin,
Yeah.
did I ask you that question?
Not yet.
Okay.
I'm just gonna kind of reiterate what has already been said. We tried our hardest at the department to feature, you know, diversity in farmers and to show that there's women farmers, there's disabled farmers, there's Black farmers, there's Native American farmers, and it doesn't have to be a certain fit or a certain mold. Anyone can be a farmer. And there's also opportunities, you know, for our young folks in a career in farming. And it's so broad as to what you can do in farming. And a lot of people don't know, you know, the different day-to-day things that are considered agriculture. I mean, the wine that you drink at dinner time is agriculture. If you have a beer or whatever on the weekends, that's agriculture. The clothes you wear, dog food, it's all these things are agriculture, and people are not aware that it had to be made somewhere.
Right.
So,
and there's organizations out there that I'm finding out about myself. Like there's Agribility. It's a nationwide program, but here in North Carolina, the University of A&T in Greensboro sponsors that, and it's to help people that are disabled get back to farming. So
that's awesome.
I went to the Southern Farm Show and helped them, and I'm just helping advocate for that program because there's so many people that actually don't know what that program is. And so just letting people know about different programs out there is important. So we're going to skip the number 6 and go to number 7 so we have time for Q&A because I have another event after this. So how has the industry changed in the past 5 years, and what do you predict will happen in the next 5 to 10 years? Ashley.
I will kind of frame this within the agriculture organizations that we work with. I would certainly say that in my time in the industry, and I've been in my role for 14 years, but early on, we did not communicate as much between organizations as we do now. And it's absolutely phenomenal, but we actually created a new organization that's sort of a partner of all of that, which is called Feed the Dialogue, NC. So if you don't follow them, I encourage you to do so. But that's something that I've seen change over the past few years. Certainly, and I have heard that before years and years ago. In other states, this is the case that the organizations don't get along. So like the university or extension or farm bureau or pork or soybeans in other states probably don't communicate as often as we do here in North Carolina. And so I feel like that's a strength that we have. It's a really incredible experience that we all get to work together on several projects, like our exhibit at the state fair, for example. But when we're working on those projects, we're always communicating back and forth. And that way we can magnify our voice, magnify our efforts, because certainly our dollars don't go as far as they used to. And it's always nice when we can work together in order to accomplish something that, is related to consumer education. So hopefully in the next 5 to 10 years, we may even work more closely or, be on a daily, basis of communicating with each other. It's certainly been very helpful and encouraging, something that we look forward to keep maintaining in the future.
And I will say, working with different organizations and the different associations, North Carolina Sweet Potato Association, the Small Greens, y'all all are good about communication skills, and that's key. And the Mount Olive Pickle Company got to be NC. And some organizations are better than others, but those are a few that are really on top of things. And I agree with y'all working together. It makes a world of difference. Lynn?
I see, that, agriculture has been under a lot of challenges in the recent years. I see that there are fewer farms and fewer farmers, and that's troubling. We need to, it's just been a tough time. And so but at the same time, overall, I think agriculture is incredibly resilient. And, it's amazing to me, the diversity of ag in North Carolina. I mean, there's just so many different types of farming. There's aquaculture and there's wine. I mean, there's just all kinds of stuff. And that's really what makes for such a strong ag economy in North Carolina. And in the future, I think we will, I think we'll get better and stronger because of the relationships that we have and the networking that's in place, that and pooling resources and I think those things are, that's to our benefit moving forward.
We're powerful in numbers.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Krista?
So in the last 5 years, I think it's crazy the amount of farmland that we have lost. Our farm personally has lost 3 to 5 farms that we leased in the last 5 years, I would say. So as of now, 2% of the US population are farmers. So 2% of the US feeds the other 98%, which when you think about that, that's kind of scary. But there's just less farmland. We're expected to feed the growing population on less land. It's being developed. Houses are put up, shopping developments, shopping, whatever. What was the stat? Hang on. Oh, so there is 58% less farmland in North Carolina than there was in 1920. And I don't know what the population growth has been since then, but I know it's huge. So the next 5-10 years, there's going to be a struggle to feed everybody. That sounds horrible, but when we're losing land and the population is growing, we can only do so much with what we're given. And I think that it's going to be a struggle. I think food prices are going to continue to rise. I think there are going to be less farmers because it's harder for us to put crops in the ground and make money. So I think we're losing land and we're going to be losing farmers as well. And I think there's going to be a food shortage eventually in the near future.
Caitlyn.
I was in a presentation last week given by the North Carolina Farm Bureau, and they said that 22% of all foods will move to plant-based or processed foods. So that's a definite change, and we're already seeing that a lot here now. So I would say that's the biggest thing that's been literally put into my face. But some positive changes. Although we're losing farmland, you are seeing a lot of urban farms. I know here in Raleigh, there's a woman who puts beehives on the top of buildings. So people are kind of getting creative with the teeny tiny little space that they have. So that is a positive thing out of a negative thing of us losing farmland. People are growing up versus growing out. And aquaponics, aquaculture, all kinds of crazy things. We have a lot of technology going for us now, and I think we're going to only see more technology and more innovation as far as farming. And just like in the grocery store, we have to check our own selves out. We might be having self-driving tractors here before too long. So you never know.
That would be cool, wouldn't it? Is that called the Raleigh Urban Farm by any chance?
There is a farm called the Urban Farm. I'm not sure if they're the ones who do the bee boxes or not.
I've heard of one near Yates Mill, that area.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was the one you were talking about. All right. Well, now we're going to open up the Q&A. So if anybody from the listening wants to ask any questions, just make sure you go one at a time so people can hear you. And state who you would like to direct it towards. Or you can use the chat as well.
Am I the only person?
What'd you say?
Am I the only person?
Oh no, there's other people.
Oh, okay. Caitlyn,
Yes.
is it hard being a farmer?
Well, I'm not a farmer personally. My job, I get some AC and a nice view of 4 walls. But I guess speaking on my husband's behalf, he's a farmer, and it's long hours. It's a lot of dedication, and you have to love what you're doing. Otherwise, you wouldn't put the hours into it. So I would say on behalf of all farmers, because it takes so much time and so much dedication and so much just physical wear on your body, you truly have to love what you're doing and have a passion for what you're doing.
If you don't have a passion for what you're doing or a drive, especially for me in this pageant system, advocating for agriculture, advocating for the disabled community to make sure everybody has a place in agriculture. If you don't give 110% to something that you're passionate about, you're not going to take anything away from it. So that's the same with being a farmer. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Jackie, I think I see your hand raised. Oh, somebody. Tammy.
So,
Hmm.
what do you do for the Cattlemen's Association exactly?
Are you wanting Ashley?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I do consumer education, marketing, and promotion of beef. A lot of it has to do with social media, our website, of course, our email communications. Some of it is, I guess I should have started with our tagline, "Beef, it's what's for dinner." I hope you've heard of that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that is our banner, and we encourage people to eat beef. We're not targeting vegetarians or vegans. We just would like for the people who already enjoy beef to enjoy it more often. And so we have tons of recipes, all the nutrition data you could want at beefiswhatsfordinner.com. And then I do spend a little bit of my time working with our beef cattle producers and helping to share how we promote beef with them, so that they can see how we're spending their dollars essentially. But and I really enjoy, every bit of working with producers, but working with consumers is our focus to try to encourage them to eat more beef.
All right, thanks.
Sure.
Kinley is also one of our agriculture queens, so I want to give her the chance to say anything if she has anything to say.
Do you have anything to say, Kenley? No.
Aw.
Quiet one of the group.
No.
She's learned a lot this year. One of the things that she's really interested in is she's been working with the Lee County for the regenerative farming, which her collecting the seeds and getting those out, and then she's anxious to see next year what that brings by what she's donated, and she's watched people take out and see when they bring the seeds back. So that's she's just learning. I was actually raised on a farm, and my husband the same. So my grandfather, I guess you would technically say we're second generation. So my grandfather owned a farm. He did pork, pig farming. And then of course we had every other animal, and we have 2 small farms now. And so she's just learning, but I think that her biggest challenge at this point is where she's very young is to, I guess, it's learning and kind of getting her feet into the agriculture aspect, and the more she can learn, the better. But she wants to help teach other people, and kids like her that it starts when they're this young. So, do you have any questions for any of the ladies?
Why don't you tell them your name, your title, and where you're from?
Okay. My name is Kinley. I am your Junior Miss North Carolina, United States Agriculture. And my platform, what did I say my platform?
Oh, if you want, you can tell them what.
Do you want me to tell them my platform?
Sure.
My platform is Healthy Harvest, Healthy Kid.
And where are you from?
I'm from Sanford, North Carolina.
Alrighty. I also see Jackie's on here. Jackie, do you want to say anything?
No, I just mainly jumped on to support you after our elite.
Yeah, I'm sorry I double scheduled, but that's the only time slot I had, as busy as I am.
That's fine.
But you want to say your name, your title, and where you're from?
I'm Jackie Croft, the elite miss for Florida.
Ooh.
And what is your platform?
My platform is agriculture education in our schools.
I actually just met someone that works with the Department of Agriculture that helps with the farm to school program.
Oh, really?
Yes. So
Sweet. Yeah, they have a lot of neat programs. I don't know what they have in North Carolina, but they have quite a few things here in Florida.
Well, thank you all for joining us. Thank you to all the panelists and everyone who took up their evening tonight to join us, and I really appreciate it.